Analyses! Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Holyfield and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States, and we are here taking a look at the bench teams this time for the episode 3 challenge number 1 analysis. I'm excited. We're going to operate this the same way as we did last week. We have the originals of the tracks they are covering and reworking and re-performing. We're going to watch those first before we watch the respective teams. We're also, I believe, going to go in the same order: rhythm, followed by beat, followed by groove for this analysis. I don't know if that's the order for the actual show, and that's fine. I will be watching the episode, so fear not. I will be looking at these more so like a preliminary interim kind of analysis, meaning that if I were receiving these videos for, let's say, a special guest feedback as a director, what would I say? What would my notes be? That would be kind of how I would tailor this. So keep in mind, all of my analysis and feedback will be tailored to these videos specifically. I do know with Adrenaline, when the directors, imply resisting or kind of toning down for rehearsal versus stage, I understand all of that, and so I will factor that into the analysis. I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. Let's get into it. First up, we have Baggy jeans. I have done this choreo. I have analyzed this group doing this choreo. I'm excited for it. Let's go. Yeah. I remember when I watched Baggy Jeans for the first time. It was the first time I think I had seen 10 in a group doing a group promotion, and so I remember saying in the commentary, I'm not used to seeing them there. It's funny. Come on now, come on now. Yep. I wonder if they're going to keep that. Look at America being repping on the jeans. Baggy, 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 baggy jeans. Ha! Double, double. Baggy jeans. And you do the shmoney, ay. Yeah, yeah, yes, you better dig it up. Look at that shoulder range he had. And also, this is the firstborn of NCT. They're the 7th Sense group. So it's really fun to see them in this way. I hope to one day look at 7th Sense, but this is cool. Yep. Yeah. Does Ted have underwear with his freaking name on it? Do you see? Baggy, 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 baggy. Jeez, you better pull it. And then then they turn it to a little sticker energy near that end, don't they? Yeah. Yeah! The ISOs are eating. Boom. Yeah! Do you end up doing the... I'm excited for seeing the Whoa live. Come on now. Yeah. Pull it. Come on now. Come on now. All right. We can't even see them because of the pyrotechnics. Pull him. Okay. I'm excited. I don't know how they could have reworked it, but I'm intrigued. Let's go full cam rehearsal. Hey! It's giving XXL Young Posse in it. Out the gate. Well, Shmoney will switch up on that. Monastery. So we already have an overlap of party move sequences. I'm digging it. Having a track that matches that works too. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Nice. Okay. I like the rhythm. Bandanas, they're cute. Interesting. Interesting. There's a crack there. It happens. You hear the breath. All right, question is, are we going to regulate our stability after this? Okay, and the nice little like lingering look. Okay, firstly, we have to remember too, on Universe League, with the bench teams, I personally don't see them as less than. We're going to hold them to the same standard as the first strings, because everybody at the end of the day is competing for the same results. We're just starting on different teams, and we're going to be traded accordingly. So I also know they get ranked off of individual scoring. It gets calculated, you have a most valuable performer, and then that's what they have revealed in the episode. And then after, they don't know what the results of the bench round is until they're all together. It's based on what the scenes for the next episode give the impression on, right? So, okay. From the top here, when it comes to the rework, I find it so interesting with NCT specifically. I personally feel like a group can rework the track however they want, and regardless if it personally meshes with my vibe of a track, it's going to hit the same way as how the original sounds. Baggy Jeans has a weird AF section in it, and I kind of mentioned it in preparation. It's on YouTube already if you want to see the full analysis for that. But like how there's certain parts of it doesn't feel like it rested well on how it's like some of the tone, like we kept the same tone pitch choices, but we just had a completely different backbeat. Like for me, that hits the same way as the NCT track. So we're going to kind of leave it, let it lie. That's life. They can't control the rework either. They get what they're given and they're doing their best, right? So, okay, here we go from the top here. So we have a little whisper here. Honestly, getting a projection on your whisper is pretty good and definitely something that we can recognize and appreciate whenever we do see it. So it's good to see that. I like the little breakoffs from everybody. He takes one of the arms, he peels it down. The switch off is nice. They're framing him here and he's mouthing the words, or he's saying the words and you see it framed over the mouth. And then he rotates, which is really nice. Yeah, so I immediately said, this reminds me of XXL, Uri XXL, like, such a vibe. I also have covered that one before, really fun, and that one should also be on YouTube. This is just really fun. Anyway, so I don't mind it. I think for me, we're in the same family of movement quality and vocabulary that we're using, which is why I think regardless of the rework choice, it's still in that same sound that justifies the movement choices, I think is my point, because we had a lot of overlap already. We got crisscross happening here, party move inspiration, party move influence. You had heavy shmoney presence, heavy Dougie presence in the previous, in the original Baggy jeans, and I like that we kept some really dope traits of the original on it. It's cool. So they started with the crisscross. Did everybody do the crisscross? That'd be a clarification there on the cleanliness side. Yeah, so I don't know if we're just bringing our feet together or if we're crisscrossing. That can affect your range, which is what you guys are seeing right here. Taking the arms, placing them forward. I like that da-doom, nice syncopated. We're here for it, dropping it down. And I like the little Superman moment right here. That's what that move's called. Or based off of what I've learned. Please keep in mind, I hope if you're noticing, if I'm like racking off vocab in my bank of what these things have been called, please go be curious. If you're like, I've never heard that move be called that before, please go look and see for yourself, because I do find it interesting. Like, I like learning that there's different variant names for a lot of these moves. There's sub moves that I come across as the World of Dance or Pepper Seed. It's interchangeable. I mean, if you've seen some of my other analysis that have an old school party move, a hybrid inspiration on them, you've seen me rack my brain on what to give the name for stuff. So what I say does not actually go. Please take a lot of what I'm saying as like a little stepping stone to curiosity versus what, well, Jessica said this. Guys, I'm just a person, right? So I'm a person with who's trying to understand these vocabs so I can train my students to understand that there's names and history behind moves that they learn. So anyway, I digress though. So I like from there the switch, another little syncopated moment. We like to see that. I like the little baggy. We're rocking the weight between the sides. Could this be cleaner? The answer is yes. I am curious if we are going to clean it up for the actual like adrenaline based show. What happens when this group has adrenaline? We'll find out in the episode. I know you guys probably already know this already. That's fine. So I like the double up on the sides, different varying levels is nice. Baggy jeans, and there's your shmoney. So we've already seen that. That is something that you've seen quite a few times on the Baggy jeans original, so that was cool to see there. I like the weight change on that. Also looks really nice. Then they go into a monastery. That also has been called a couple things. It's been called the chicken head, been called the monastery. Just depends on the context. So that was fine. The pull through, and then the bleed up is nice. When it comes to stability, there was a couple times where it didn't feel stable, not really regulating our vocals, as well as a crack here and there. But we can always chalk that up to sometimes what they do in rehearsal, it gets fixed on the show, and vice versa. Something that can be stable here can really fall apart on stage under adrenaline. That's life. If anything, at the end of the day, all of these groups, bench and first string, are all experiencing certain skill sets they wouldn't have had the privilege of refining and working on at an expedited rate if they weren't on the show, right? So we're here for this. It's absolutely fine. But that can be a reason that can affect your scoring, is if we maintain our current stability choices and the fact that we weren't quite stable on other distributions. I know that I think it's, the actual mentors, directors, they're the ones who distributed the lines. They all audition. That's fine. They can't control who's exposed, who's not. But I will say that is a note that I will give to whoever was in charge of that for first string, especially for all across the board. Line distribution, they can't control it. I feel like I think it's important to give people opportunity to kind of showcase a step out, but I also understand the strategy of it too. It's chess at the end of the day, right? Of you don't want if somebody's struggling to hold a stability and they're known for a rapper, like, don't put them on a vocal section if you have a vocalist who can hold it. Like, I totally respect those choices. It's just an interesting thing, you know, like shower thoughts, right? Anyway, I digress. I don't see any like huge discrepancies here, but it could also be I wasn't really looking out for it here, and that's fine. But anyway, I like the switch up there. I like his little mannerism. That was really nice. So I like the shoulder rolls, and we knock it down, hit, and we invert the knees. And then we go vroom. I like the vroom, vroom, vroom with the usage of the wrist. Definitely gives that vroom effect. I like that he's hitting the horn on that, which is kind of cool. They hit dee, like a little, like a modified hybrid hit them, folks, which is kind of cool. Syncopated once again. I like the kick on that is fun. So they move to another side, which is fine. So we dig. Some of our energy is not placed in the right area. Some of us are using our head as an accent more than our shoulders or our chest or torso. So that to me would be a note that I would give is utilization of groove. So when you're doing a party move genre routine like this, your groove is very, very important. It is part of the culture of the inception of the moves. So that's why there is an expectation, a very safe assumption to expect having groove. Now, if you don't know where a groove comes from, or what it is, groove in hip hop or in pop, you know, talk about the funk styles too. It's your soul as a person. It's not really as a dancer, but you as a person. So it's, and a lot of times from the actual like dance analytical side, it derives from, shout out to Castro for this because he worded it great, the chest and the shoulders, and then your core and your hips help support the chest and the shoulders. So I really like the fact that I can even just rattle that off because it's provided great clarity for me as an educator and as a mover myself to know what my focuses need to be, because I still struggle with it in popping, especially like getting that right without compensating with a bounce and a rock. But that's a complete side note. Going back to the party move side, having this, I think my natural, where my expectation of where a lot of the groove or flow of the cohesion, I would say compensate more in the torso versus the head. But for an expedited time period that they're given, it's a little bit tricky to kind of make that happen. So I understand that too. But it's still a note that we have to, you know, still factor in. So that would be my in general just feedback there. So they kind of rock back on. I like his accent there, which is cool. So they knock off. So that feels like an add-on. Everyone's making individualized choices. And I think our goal was to match dynamics. So what I mean by that is that a lot of times you'll see people all do a little speed change. That's always like a great example to use, but everyone's making their own arm choices or direction choices. As long as the timing, range, and the dynamic is the same, you can do anything different with each other. Here in this case, because the range and timing were slightly off, range being how you get from an A to B of a move, the transition of a move, it gets a little tricky for us to appreciate the individuality that you're trying to go for. So that'll be my note there. His knock on that, which was fun. We go and move to a new spot. A little head on that is fine. So he goes 1, 2, 3, and from there he does a little trot. He didn't really basket run, but I'm going to call it a warning shot of a basket run over there. So that's my note. If you didn't know, one of the things that I am sensitive to as just a choreographer who has adjudicated mega crews and a lot of groups that utilize a basket run as a transition, I will say this every time, it does come across like a missed opportunity. They can't control the transition. That's just a choreographer note. That's okay. We're colleagues at the end of the day. That's life. It's fine. And he's really he dropped the level. The reason why you see people do that, and sometimes it's that chicken wing vibe, is because they don't want to be a distraction and they don't want to take away from what is happening behind them. So I respect the fact that we have it. That's why people use it so much. But when it comes from a creative standpoint, it is something that we can always strive to enhance and be inspired by in different ways. And so he can't control that though. So we're going to move on from that, which is fine. So we have that 1, 2, 3. They knock down. I like the ball change. So they all match the legs on that, which was great. Now notice everybody's range is different. Some are really knocking it center with the head. Some are pressing up and their chest is more of the accent point, right? So notice that's where their energy's at right now. His energy is past the chest and moved up, which is why they look off. He's not even looking. So that's would be a clarification on the cleanliness side, but also they did have to self-regulate a lot of their cleaning. So it does make me curious about how their rehearsal time went. Like, we don't really know unless the episode shows us. And you have to remember too, with SBS, they work the same way as M Night. They got different politics though. They are going to push whatever narrative they want to push. So actually, I'll wait till we get to Team B to kind of address what happened in the episode with Team B, because there's a lot of thoughts, and some people saw me go full what the crap mode on some of those things that happened in the interactions, but that's life. But But SBS is they will pull a narrative that they want. If they want people to hone in on a mistake, they're going to hone in on a mistake. Even if we had a full cam of the live performance on site, we may not have caught it as quickly, if that makes sense. So we'll talk about that because Groove also had a note that I'm going to give to that too. But I digress. Back to rhythm. So that to me, that's going into a scissors. So that's what the name of her that move we call that. It's the step switch over on that. So he has a nice little energy on that. But how we're engaging in a lot of our choices, they're not really shifting their weight. It's a weight thing. It's also where we're placing our energy. Some are comfortable using the chest. Some are compensating with extremities, so the head, the arms, and the legs. So that would be something that if I was a director for them, I would like to kind of help enhance and work on those types of techniques. But I mean, I think so far the only director that's worked with the members outside of filming that I've heard has been Changsub from Groove on the vocal side. So I'm curious if the others even have time, because that's a very interesting thing. Because Changsub he's in a role like myself where he has ownership and he's like a director of a facility, a business, right? So he has that more, he's just in a different role in life in comparison to, Wavy, active group still. I mean, B2B still active, but in a different way, right? Like Wavy's still under SM, it's like a whole thing, right? Like they are still just as active. And then you have Argot's, I remember with El Captain, like they're still producing and they're still working actively in a different way. So it does make me curious about the scheduling side, but I digress. So I like the down, 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 and then you have the chest. Rotation on the chest is cool. So the little hit, and then we rotate it from the side. So definitely gives that little, I've seen this when people do a tic-tac-toe or under like light feet. I've seen it done there, which you've seen it under like the hip-hop scene of things, which is cool. The push out, dun, 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 da, 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 dun. And I like the hit, the two little interruptions on that, which is nice. They double up on the V step in the back. I like the pull and the rotation is cool. So we could definitely hear like that kind of like extra airiness in the voice, but I'm curious if that's just rehearsal or if it's actual on site. Yeah, so that's fine. So they ended up doing that twice, pay tribute to the original, cool. So they did pretty good on this, which is fun, and then you have the two as the outlier. I think spacing could have improved a smidge right here. And then the baggy jeans, and then we turn out of it, two different outliers on the outside. So it's the same choreo. This is a good example of something I referenced earlier. Notice he's really using the head when the accent point of this move comes from the hips. And the reason why I know this, I learned this section, so I have empathy on it as a practitioner, but also analyzing it, it's supposed to give like this conversational pettiness, if that makes sense. So the turn, yeah, a lot of people are knocking it from the shoulder, some are knocking from head, so it's just clarification on where do you want your energy to be. It's fine if you choose to go head or shoulder. The decision just has to be made collectively if it's unison. So that's my note there. The cross on cross, and I like the swing ups. So they didn't rework it a ton on the choreography front. I think it is the same, at least in this first little A count, or 2 A counts, which is cool, but it's different than the other rhythm team. Did they do that because it's bench? I don't know those logistics, but it is interesting to note that this is a lot of the original choreo. But when you think about the transition between the tonal colors, between what you hear, meaning the instrument context that we have from the original to here, I mean, they're in the same family, which is cool. Anyway, so he had this moment, slide through. So now this is different. So it goes swing, swing, swing. Like we're about to do a Dougie, but we don't quite. We just syncopate an accent on the shoulders. We invert the knees on this, and it goes out, and we go dig, and then we do a little barrel, turn around. I like the knee slide on that, which is really cool. Now, stability side. Who was singing that? Baggy jeans. I think it's interesting to know what is our pitch goal for this segment, because how it feels if we're going off of original, it doesn't feel complimentary, so it's really hard. But also NCT tracks feel that way in general, so it's hard to measure that, which is why stability and confidence collectively can really help provide clarity for your audience on, okay, they're supposed to go on this pitch confidently, right? Which also goes back to the point on this is a pretty decent track for not being as controversial. If they really if Wavy chose to go for Sticker by NCT, it was what, like 127, that would have really put them at a disadvantage, because that's such a polarizing song, right? So I think out of most of the NCT tracks I've had the privilege of listening to, this is a pretty good one that the masses tend to kind of fare, just based on what I've seen on the Reddit side, Twitter side, Instagram side, but I digress. Anyway. And so they hit it back, little pas de bourrée. It does feel a bit muted, but it may just be an intentional choice. More conversational. They do a little punch on the side. Range could have improved on that too. And they go switch, switch, switch. So the little chest on that, which was fine. And it goes subtlety. We did do a subtle accent for there not being a sound to represent it, but that could just be a preferential thing. Maybe it was more of like a stability thing, like to suspend it, and then we move on. And now it feels like we're about to do like a Roger Rabbit, but not quite, or maybe like the new school Running Man. So the opposition between our feature to the next was a fine framework for that. And then they do a little party machine transition, but not everybody committed to it, so it was hard to know if we were just spreading out or if we had an intentional move to justify. So it's little things like that, and the swing, direction change, which was fine. Some chose to direction change, some did it. So I think in general, like having more clarification on the dynamics when it comes to the directions, when we're choosing to do a move, when we're choosing to be very individualized and just spreading out. Normally, if everyone's supposed to be individual, you want to be mindful of making sure everybody intentionally does something different so it feels that way. Because if enough people do a move, like let's say that rotating party machine that we saw a little bit earlier, then it's going to feel like not everybody is doing that because they're not. And it feels like not like everyone's supposed to do the same thing, but they're not doing it. So that's what my kind of note would be there. I'm curious if they cleaned that up for the show or if that was just a mark through, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm going to let you pull through on that, which was fine. And the rotation around was fine too. Like that. Do you notice that they kept the dynamic the same? They were doing just a bounce with the extra rock, and they were on tempo on it together in the transition. That looked cool. I like the hit, and the drop is also really cool. They switch over, which is really nice. The little baggy. My guy right here, he's Mr. Headbanger. So that's that's fun, but it can, as a note that I would specially give to him, I love the enthusiasm of his movement quality, but that's a note that I would give if you're giving main dancer energy, which he does. I don't know if he is deemed that in the group. I like his movement quality, but for the cohesion, so it's all about meshing well together as a group, but also knowing to stand out for the individual score. It's a really tricky balance because it is a team but also individual competition. Very interesting, right? It's Universe-League. I would give him the note of being mindful of when he adds extra embellishments of the head. Could it be everyone's doing it, and because he has blonde hair and it's longer and how it's styled, it sticks out more? Maybe. I mean, he's the only one with an outlier hair color. Couldn't really tell you, so a jury's still out for that, but that would be something that I'd want him to be aware of, because just like some people have different textiles of costuming, that can affect your range on your timing if you do unison. We talk about this a lot in competition choreography, so that's why a lot of times you see crews wear the exact same thing, so their cleanliness score will get better, because if they're all wearing different things, you run the risk of the range on my jacket being different than the range on your hoodie. It's an interesting thing to think about, right? So that would be something that I would just recommend to him, just being mindful where his energy's coming through and learning to really enhance that chest more than the head. I think would do wonders. Pulls through. So it does feel like we're partying, but is it because we're, marking the party? Or is it more chill? Something along those lines. Part of me wishes that we had a little bit more extroversion there. Maybe we'll get it later. The switch in the isolation was fun. The switch up on this was fine, but it was a bit difficult to read the chest ISO, so that would be my note there. Could that be a textile on costuming? It could very simply be that too. That's live. It's a little party mode, so he goes really full in that upper body, but there's not a ton of full body from everybody, so it's interesting. And the switch up, little taps and taps, which is fine. So they go hit, nice little, oh my gosh, hold on. It's not even a Biz Markie or Bobby Brown or anything. Yeah, I feel like it's giving top rock energy, but I couldn't really place an itemized top rock for that. And to a little Dougie rotation, which is cool. Then they go and they switch out. We go step, step, step. Swing, up. Once again, he's hitting the dun, 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 dun. But the backbeat doesn't help justify that as much, but it could very simply be that's just how it is. So he has the confidence and stability, and because of my familiarity to the track, I'm able to recognize it. But it is tricky, honestly, to have the confidence as a viewer if they're on pitch, was that strategy? I don't know. But so it's hard for me to feel like I can judge that. But they go jeans, baggy jeans, and we pull it away. And they melt through. I don't know if it was a 1, 2, 3. I'm assuming it's a 2, 2, 2. So let's have a little look again. So we turn out of it, So it's group 1, 2. So range could have improved. I think my guy right here went a smidgen too early because I was clocking him with this first group versus with his own individual person. But it could just be, you know, I think it was just that group 2. I think it was supposed to be a bleed, bleed, bleed because group 2 was off. It was hard to see that visual, but I'm going to assume that's what we were going off of. So we have a nice member right here. He has a more vocalist moment. He goes up, he bleeds it down. And then notice how isolated and stable he was from top to bottom. But notice nobody else did it because they're already moving before he moved to a new spot. Could that be because of maybe camera shot or he was holding until that accent point to move? It looked like it, so I appreciate his musicality. I really like that percussion from my guy right here that we just saw. My other guys just kind of just walked away. I don't know what was the official call for that, but I like the musicality because it allowed me the privilege of hearing the drum kit right there. So I love it whenever choreography guides me in that way, and I'm always assuming that the choreographers on the shows and on the competition front, that's their goal too, because that's your job, is to collaborate between whatever's going on in the rework into, you know, framing the choreography to set the group up for success, because at the end of the day, rhythm wants to set rhythm up for success, not failure, regardless if you're bench or first string. You want everybody to be strong, so you have less people to feel the need to trade, and also you don't give anybody a yellow card. Yay for everyone, you know what I mean? So I think that's an interesting thing for that. Melt up is run, walk through. The switch up is cool, so he bleeds through. The little bleed on the chest is nice. The little U, which is nice. The switch up on that is fine. He's still having his moment, so could this help him if he keeps it really, really stable? Help him become most valuable performer? Possibly. Because his tone matches this segment of track quite well, so I feel very guided in that sense. So... and they go double double. One of my guys went just a smidgen too early for that, but timing got a little bit better there. That was where the little crack was, so I'm hopeful. Like, at the end of the day, whatever I'm hearing vocal crack-wise here, I really want all of these groups to be competitive in the live performance. I don't want groups to make major mistakes because it just makes it hard, right? It makes it unfortunate. I want to be able for all the groups to where it's anybody's game. That's a good competition. So I'm hopeful that we have that more stable. It was just a fluke, not a consistent, I hope I can hold it down on the live stage, if that makes sense. So he had his moment. That's my note that I'll give that. Moves forward. The kick there. Hey. And then we have a little dance break time. Push through, little hit. It's a drop, which is fine. We accent with the shoulder and elbow. And then he goes boom with the elbow on that as well. We slide in. He accents there. So we have a throw, boom, down to the corner, which is really nice. And then we go pulse to the side. And we pick it up. And we take the arms. I like the opposition of the angles that we were given there. Looks great. And we goes out in, we hit. Now, is this the most, you know, is that my favorite dance break I've ever seen in my life? No. I appreciate the fact that we have one that showcases movement quality, diversity, which is fine. But you have your main, like your front and center, and then you have him matching another, my other guy. But because we're not like super, super clean, it does feel like one of my guys over here, even though I bet you there's a chance that my guy in center was just told to pick a side. When you're really clean, it makes it feel very clear and you can read it that way. But because we're a little bit off on the cleanliness, it feels like my guy on that stage right side is off, right? So that would be my note there. They're frozen on the sides. That inherently doesn't really bother me. That reminds me of, you know, of a dance practice. They can't go anywhere. They're not distracting in any way. They're being professional. I appreciate that. Thank you for that. Dig it through. I like the up through, and then we do a little glide. It does feel like we could have pulled a little bit more fullness, but once again, is that just dry run, or is this just where they are on the stability and stamina? We'll find out. Exit through, hit, out, and then we drop down. I like the opposition, doon, 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 with the chest matching with the arms, and then they syncopated that at the tail end, which is really cool. And then bring it up and over, and then he has this little moment, da-da-da-da-da, and they turn out of it, which is cool. So I am curious as to what happened with my guy that far back. Let's look. So it's he's over here on that stage right side. Let's watch him. So, when it's something like that, reason why he stuck out is if you notice, nobody else really moved except for him. And so, normally in transitions like that, we tend to, for me as a performance director, or when I do movement direction, and you audit formation stuff, and you troubleshoot, especially when, let's say, it's a competition routine, and we're cleaning it, and there's somebody who drops, a company, they drop the competition routine. That happens. Life happens, right? you have to reblock it. And so sometimes you have to work on the logistics on there's somebody abnormally traveling a greater distance than others and it sticks out to you. So your goal in that position is to refine that or figure out a way to make them not feel like a focal point when they're not supposed to be. So I find that interesting that he had to really move to the inside on that. My recommendation could have been have my guy right here be a little bit far out so they both came in at the same time. But it could be a slew of different things. But that's probably why he may have stuck out a little bit more to me than the feature, because he transitioned more than anybody else, and that turns into a major outlier in the general flow of transition. And so they all do the head. So I like how he chose to kind of thread through on that. And then from here it goes baggy, baggy, baggy. I like the shootout on that. Good job on the spacing so nobody felt like they got cut off, or based on the vantage point that we're given, it doesn't feel that way. We turn out of it, which is cool, and then they go up, they drop it low, and they rotate it through. I like the little head nod on this. And then they kick it up, which is also nice to see. Nice little bounce, bounce, and we bounce, and we bounce. Bringing it forward, which I really like. The extra punches on this, and we end up turning. Range could totally be a lot better for that. If we're going unison, I think that would have really, really helped make this finale have a really big punch. So I'm hopeful that a lot of things I'm bringing up, maybe we have a more refined 5-4, and the switch up on that's fine. Cross it back, which is nice, and we go knock, knock, knock. A nice little just drop down, which is cool. Little heel twist on that. Some chose to bend the arms, some chose to straighten, so that'd be a clarifying note to give. And it goes baggy, 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 so it goes front to side. And then we go to the back, baggy jeans, and then some are facing directly back, some are looking downcast to the corner. So it's all just directional, like leaned weight choices that really could clean this up a lot more. So I am curious as to does it get cleaner? I mean, we'll find out. We'll find out soon for sure. Team B is up, and we have Hard Carry by God 7. This one is a doozy of a routine to try to do. So I am very curious as to how it got reworked. Music's up. Let's go. Man, hasn't this been a long time? I think it's totally possible. If there was a group on the show that pulled Siren from Rise, this could be pulled live too. I'm sure of it. Guys, the era of the skinny jeans. We're eating in them. Come on. Yep. We're missing a sleeve. Yeah. Come on now. It's so extremity heavy. And no cheers, but that's life. Okay, here we go. I'm excited for this. Let's go. They kept some of the backbeat, okay. Wow. Yeah. Wow, okay. The backbeat actually justifies the racer fits pretty decent because it sounds like it's a motorbike. That's dope. Okay, El Captain, I see you. Some chose more isolated. Yeah. Very strong. Was that quarter zip from replay? That just went? Because I know he's on a bench team, and I think it's on B. I have a feeling most valuable performer, if they keep it the same like this, onto the show, could be my guy in the middle right there. He's very strong. I mean, this is a very strong routine. He's very stable. And that falsetto. Cool. That feels very like, I know a lot of people associate, like when it comes to full cam rehearsal footage thus far, this to me feels like a top 3. Like, it's very, very well done. I'm very impressed by this, actually. It's really cool. Because like I said, it's bench to first string, doesn't matter. This, to me, is really, really, really strong on the vocal stability side based on this cut. Now, if they make mistakes or something on site, that's life. It happens, and we have to, we gotta work on the checks and balances of our skill set on whatever we do in rehearsal. We enhance it and we make it better for show. We will always want to try to avoid the opposite, right? So that's something I'm hopeful that they are able to perform this way, in the live. I don't know though, but yeah, as somebody who has, analyzed the show thus far and watched it, for somebody who hasn't really gotten a ton of screen time, my guy right here, I really do think this is Mr. Quarterzip. His vocals are very stable. I think there was only one little bit here that felt a little shaky, if that, but his vocals are very strong. I did see he did carry a bit of a stiffer torso here than he did in replay, but he is giving like that. We're not giving proper, I feel like we need more proper screen time for some of these guys in general, but for me as a personal viewer of the show, that would be my wish, is that we're able to see him a little bit more, because that will help in the rankings. I do feel that way, because that's another thing too, is that a lot of people are going to rank off of the episodes. They're not going to watch full cams, right? They're going to watch what SBS shows on camera, and that's fine, which is why it is on the responsibility of SBS, if you want it to truly be like everybody's gets an equal shot, which we know is not the case. It's a TV platform. You want to make sure that everyone gets that proper screen time. And that's just my personal note that I'm going to give SBS for that, is I wish, not just with Mr. Quarterzip, but with a lot of the guys here, with the bench teams, I wonder if y'all feel this way. There's a lot of them that we are not familiarized with. And I wish that shouldn't be the case, because it doesn't matter if you're bench or first string. Everybody is a contender for the same end goal. Do you know what I mean? I digress. Here we go. So from the jump, this is pretty tricky. It is high energy, right? It's not as high energy as I would say Siren was for that audition draft section, but it is still commendable of the fact, like, this is a very successful cover of Hardcarry. It is hard to find really good covers of Hardcarry because of the things that I mentioned before, but I like the rework here. And because when you're looking at the fits that they're wearing, I already kind of touched on it, that it sounds like a motorbike racing through the streets. It justifies a lot of their fits. I like the energy output. I do think one of my guys was really, really full. I think my guy in the red and the white was really full. And so it did make my guy right here give the impression he wasn't quite as full as he could be. So that would be like a little in general note. Some of our energy did come from some subtly different places, but who do I think in this little stage who could possibly get most valuable performer if this is the exact same for show? I could really see him because of when he's placed. He has that little like performance appeal, right, with the cropped shirt. He's very full out. You know, he's giving that Park Han symptom, right, that we saw in the Siren draft. Anyway, so I like the fullness on that. It's really cool. The brush away. I like the look arounds. Cool. We're here for it. One of my guys, is that Mr. Yellow too? Like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to recognize some of these guys on here. So I like the kick on that's really cool. The reset. You can tell there is really good synergy here on the Team Beat side. Let's talk about it. This does need to be addressed. So SBS really, really, really pushed a narrative to isolate one particular member of the first string group. When you watch my analysis, I don't sit there and hone in on one person, which should show you, if anything, they're pushing a narrative to put all the blame on one person for why the routine didn't score well. Now, there's a chance that it could influence the synergy of the group, which could influence other people, but everybody is responsible for themselves. There were multiple people who made multiple mistakes. It wasn't just one person the whole time. So I want you to have that food for thought. There was a narrative heavily being pushed there, and I had really constructive thoughts to give regarding the directors and their feedback they would give during the interim. Now, whether or not that was modified, it's SBS, guys. Like, I know that there's a chance that they could have really picked apart certain interviews or certain interactions to really create a super, like a super specific narrative, which is what it really came across as. But I've seen Mnet pull way, way worse, which sucks, but that's just in general, I had a lot of very, very interesting things to say about some of those interactions about that situation and why a particular member may have been coming across very, very much like, I don't want to be here. It's so much more than that is what it was I was picking up on. But you can go look at the episode review for that. I don't want to really like spend too much time on that here, but that is one thing between the two teams on Beat. The reason why I feel like they just probably had a better synergy about them, a better drive. I don't know. We may find out in the episode, but this was really good. Like, they should be proud, very proud of this performance, of this run through for sure. So I like the little knock down, good accents on this. They reset, boom, take the head, some subtlety and like a little head ISO, wasn't it? So he comes up, I like the opposition. Yeah, well, they just go high-low. Then they move it was like a basket creep, not even a basket run. It was kind of funny, but it was mirrored. So I like the intention of that. That hard carry, hey, little heel twist, just feel a bit isolated, but hey, hard carry is super isolated and extremity heavy, which is exactly what we just said in the initial like viewing of it. So the rotation through, we do have some subtle levels on this. I do appreciate the fact we can see the levels. Part of that comes from where you put your members in blocking. When we say blocking, it's in the formations and like it's your framework of where people go in your set. So in this case here, a lot of times I have brought this up. I don't know if it was with this. I think it was for another analysis. Maybe Project 7 is when I brought this up last. Whenever you have subtle levels like this, who you have is a mirror, but also who you have next to who your individual in question is important. You want to make sure height is even, or if it's not even, make sure the deviation on the level makes it to where they're even, so it's clear and easy to read. So yeah, so they did pretty decent on that to where I can read it, and then it provides a natural separation with your center from everybody else. So that's cool. The hit and boom, very militant, boom, boom, with the rotation, nice syncopation to match that, and they dig, nice little extra energy pulling from the torso on that, low, mid, high, our carry, hey. So they all have a little, not conga line of vibes, but definitely like a little, look at me, angst, 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 and angst. So my guy right there in that black vest, sleeveless, he didn't really, it was hard to really see him there, but yeah, he's giving, let's go. So I like the little rock back into the front. They fix a lot of things that I was giving note-wise to Team Rhythm. You see them really refined here, which hopefully, that's why I really like doing analysis of multiple groups like this, because in the competition format, you're able to see one group do certain aspects that was constructed with another group. They do really well, but they have their own isms that can happen as a result of doing those things really well. They have a different basket of problems, right? So fun to talk through. But anyway, so the rocks are really nice. The directions on where their energy is coming from is pretty well established, which makes it easier for us to appreciate and see and read, which is cool. The little double do-doom, I like that, and they go and they rotate it around. So I like his little throw. So they have their moment. Some of them went a lot lower than others on the torso side. Everyone's legs were pretty decent on the spacing, pretty well done, but you could tell that some of them are a little bit more upright, and I did catch it as they were coming up, but I did notice it right there. You see what I mean? So we have some of them that are really pushing that energy more forward, and that can affect the general just vibes. Like this group feels a little bit more cohesive, but it is because everyone's pretty close. But this group, one of my guys looks a little bit on the taller end, right? So that would be a little note that I would give there. But I literally had this situation Thursday and today because I had rehearsals. I had a group where whenever you're doing choreography facing back and you don't have a mirror back there, it gets really tricky to know if you're on the same page, which is why it's really important to have a cleaner in those moments so you can look at those things and go, okay, somebody's direction is off here, let's fix it. Because if everybody's facing back except for one person and we don't catch that, how do they know that they need to go lower if they don't ever see it because they're never facing front? Do you know what I mean? So that's a nice little ism that you can think about if you're in a group practice and you have a lot of movement facing back. That could be an area of hidden cleanliness opportunity, I think is my thing there, which is interesting. Okay, so like he hits it over, the punch is cool. So we have the, every other drop, and then we have a little ball change to do, and I like the little extra fullness on that rotation on the torso is nice. And they go hit out in, then they push the energy through. I like the throw on that, which is really cool. And then we have a rock, definitely, we're going diagonal. We rotate up, diagonal, rotate up, which is nice on the swing. And they go the boom, boom. Now, when it comes to being centered, I do think my stage right group's a little bit more spaced out than my stage left, but the spacing between my stage left is better than the stage right. So what I mean by that is that this group is more condensed, but the spacing between them is a little bit more even. There's a bigger space discrepancy, but they are more spaced out, so it's easier for them to move. So I don't know. I don't know who would be right. I mean, if anything, I don't mind having, if he just moved over a smidge, it could be really nice and pretty easy to read, and then it provides pretty decent justifying spacing between your feature and your group. But I also like the clumpiness over here. It just depends on context of movement of what's going to be most effective would determine the choice that I would make as a cleaner for that. The pull through, and then we go body roll, which is cool. And then he sits over, so he's doing the movement over on that side. He goes out like we're doing a Dougie vibe, which is fun. They rotate high low, and then they go up, and then they do a little V-step. They let the torso be introduced. It's not just a V-step, but they're letting the body make it more of a full body moment, which is cool. Nice little punch there. He goes a little karate chop. He says, haha, here I am. And we said, here you are. It's fun, and I like the head as it slowly comes up. And then you have a little reverb, and then we rotate those wrists, which is really nice. And then they slide through. And then they do a little hips as they press it up. It doesn't give tease or smexy or anything, so we'll leave it alone. It's just making sure everybody pulls up at the same time. I'd say some of my guys did pretty well on that, and some of them, they don't quite have their hips up, so that would be my goal, is for everybody to be on the same page for that. Yeah, so I would have him, so my guy right there in the white, blue, and I mean all of them are in like white and blue if we're honest. really forcing to complete the line between the torso and the legs. Those hips are kind of that activating bridge between the two. So that would be my note there. And the reason why I think it's more sensitive to my guy here versus others is because you're getting a side profile of him, so the line matters a little bit more. And then you can see like the straighter line on some of the people's hips versus others. But if I'm being honest though, there we do have a mirror representation, so his hips are around the same as my guys over here, so it's easier to get away with if your mirror also does it, right? Cool. So you have your feature right here in the center, which is cool. So they swing it around. I like the little tension going from the chest is cool. The little step, I like the lowered level on that, which is cool. And then we do a little shoulder accent on that too. And they go swish, da, da. So we do nice little blades, and we go, I think we end up just folding it up. Let me see. Yeah, so it's blades, and then we go out in with the elbows, so that's nice on how they're building it. And then we have a nice little just scoop from over to the side, which is really nice. And then we do a nice little just plain moment over, and then we're traveling it over. Really good spacing here. I think that's great. The pulls are nice. Torsos, we're letting the torso help on the weight. I'm telling you, torso goes a long way because it also allows you to really feel what the movement's supposed to feel on the type of beat it's supposed to go on. It's not working against you. It will if you're not used to using it, but in order for you to really feel natural doing a movement, you gotta add the groove, or you gotta add whatever normally called for the inception of it from the jump, right? So I really like the fact that we're making the torso intentional. It's cool here. And it goes, they hit and da 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 da, and he does a little pew, which is cool. And we put it up, the ha ha. And then we go and we have the nice little just fingers on that. And then we have this very like that. Some of them chose more animalistic, some went more, hey, you know. I think that's interesting. More, as long as the dynamic's the same, having an individualized moment, I think is fine. I guess the question is, I mean, at least the range is pretty decent. I think this is such a minimal note in comparison to other things that could be off. So I think that's fine. Breakdown's pretty decent. And we go here and out. I like the glide out on it too. Looks nice. And then they rotate it up and around. And it goes, let it flow now. And they accent, so I like how we had that little interruption of the phrase on that. And we hit it up. Arms go up, and then you have this little, I don't know if it was a body roll, like a Kai body roll. Oh, I think it's just a chest ISO there. Okay. And that whenever you have different textiles that you're wearing, it is hard to read that with some of them. But that's not a note. That's just an observation. It's not even a critique. So that's interesting. So then it goes hard carry head. So I like the hinge around with the triple on that. They switch up. I like that. We made this a fixed point. It's stuck in the space and my body's moving around it. So it causes for like a subtle shoulder ISO for that. That's cool. And we hit it over and then we go boom, boom. Nice little knock like we're at a boxing gym. And I think some of us chose to use head. Did we all use head? Let's see. We all did, I think. Hold on. Little things like that. You know what I mean? Like the note I gave for the previous group. We had some people using head, which was fine. Some using shoulders, fine. But everybody making the same choice was ideal, right? So here, yeah, so everybody at least was being intentional with using the head in some way. Could it always be refined? Yes, it's life. They're human. It's fine. So they hit it through, and then we have our moment with the point down. Boom, let it flow. Now I like the direction, subtle direction change on that. The little hop forward, and I like the little knocks on the side. Does remind you of, what is it? Little city rock on that, but it's definitely more bouncy on it. So I like the kick. Notice we even tilted the head when we made that a moment. The pull is nice. Everybody's lifting up. Well, half are keeping the foot down, so that would be a note that I would give. I like the suspension, but notice the hip alignment is modified depending on if you make the choice. So his hips are facing straight front. You have those that are having them more diagonal, and you have some that are more like in the middle in between. So that would be something I would clarify too, because even though the range in the upper body is in check, the lower body, you can have more forgiveness for because it's all black, which is cool, but little details like that can influence the context of the move that you do before and after, because how he lands is going to be affected because of his hip alignment. So it's such a very interesting thing to touch on. I like the fact that we're touching on it because there's not bigger issues to tackle, so we can talk about more of the finer, minute things, right? It's cool. And some of them are looking over to the side, some are tilting down, little things like that. Yeah, so then from here, I mean, what's nice is it did look like we kind of corrected the hips on that, which is honestly impressive, the fact that we were able to get that in check, which is cool. And then we hit, ball change, we look to the back, to the front. Boom, hard carry, hey, new feature. He moves forward. Part of me wishes that he commanded a little bit earlier, not meaning that he started his vibe. No, sorry, started his singing earlier. No, more so when they drop, I need to be like, okay, we're looking at him, not because of the formation circumstance, but also because of his performance quality that allows me to naturally want to watch him too. So that would be my note that I would give him specifically if we are performing like we're on stage, which I also will give as a really nice compliment to them. It feels like this would be competitive if they perform this on stage with an audience. I'm really hopeful that they were able to pull this in this way without any major issues. Because, like I said, I want it to be competitive. I want all groups to be clean. I want all groups to have charisma, great stage presence. So it's a competition where it's anybody's game and we can respect the results. You know what I mean? So I am really pulling for that for them. So they hit it through. I like the little dig on that. And I like the every other on that too. I do think my guy right here, he did stay a little bit too tall, meaning that he didn't really sink into the legs as much as the individual he went with did all 3 times. He did on the first couple, but then he came up. So now he's kind of fighting with our feature because of the height, right? So, oh, I made a box. Fun. Anyway, so that's a fun little interesting thing that we're clocking here. Yeah. Now, it would make sense if he was featured directly after, but that's something that I am going to give a note. That would be a recommendation I would give him, is to be mindful of his lower half. Yes, you sometimes sacrificing like dropped level like that is going to make it, you're not going to be as fatigued, because it's anything that you do in your movement is going to be fatiguing. It's just how quickly it's going to take your energy. So I don't know if by him doing that, it actually was able to salvage his stamina. Sometimes you have to do that. That would be something I would want him to make it as a goal. Let's say live performance, that's nice and low. They both match the whole time, not just 2 out of the 3. So there's that. Features moving through. So that still would be my note that I would give to my guy right here, is that he is competing against the charisma of the other members. And so that's like, I really am hoping that he really hams it up. I do know some groups from the last week analysis, they did end up hamming it up more for audience, which I do come from the lens on how you practice, how you perform, but also when you do a stage run through, it's for the logistics more so than it is for what we're doing, if that makes sense. I mean, part of me wishes, and I've made this note before and I will say it again, there really is no reason why we shouldn't have a full cam for the live performances. It's SBS. They do this for music shows all the time. There's no reason for us not to. They had it for Project 7, no problem, for all the unit challenge. So to me, I don't want to wait around for an entire week waiting for a performance version that they just came out with 2 days ago from the last challenge. It's not really helping anybody, and that means y'all have to wait for a whole week versus today to watch this, right? Or for us to do a deep dive. So that's why I'm really going in with my lens, but also know I will be seeing what they do in the episode too. So you can have that peace of mind and reassurance that I will get a better perspective, and I'm not just going to live in the realm of the rehearsals, right? But that is a note I'm giving to SBS. There is no reason for us to not have the adrenaline-induced version of these. So, but anyway, they can sue me. Actually, I don't want them to sue me. I want to keep my channel. Anyway, so we go brush, brush. So I like that where he goes, nice little throw money, something of the kind, they drop low. Now, I want you to notice this. Some guys chose to go heavy, heavy head ISO. I do think some of them, I think maybe he goes super head ISO. Let's look. So it's shoulders. Look at how isolated. I don't mind it, but it's really cool, but as long as the accent, I think everybody ended up isolating somewhat, so that's a really tricky shoulder to do because it's on a different plane than what my guy up top's doing, so that's a very interesting thing to get clean, for sure. And we go let knees on that, he hit, and a nice little ball change, and he presses over to the side, da-da-da-da, go. So I like the conversational, boom, boom, little swing is cool, arms go up, and then we drop lower, da-na-na-na-na, which is cool. Nice little roundhouse kick to your soul is what that felt like. That was cool. So they had their moment, so I like how they walk off. Part of me is like, we could have totally walked on tempo, but that's just a personal preference of mine. I always love the intention of getting on and off stage in every transition ever, not just, okay, I know that he's our focal point here, so we're just going to go off to the side and not be a distraction. I appreciate that. But you can still be a moment over here because it's a group activity. This isn't like a solo, which is fine. And it doesn't come across that way, but I hope my point makes sense. Anyway, so, and a little punch is cool. Nice little group here. So I like the little crossover on that. And then he goes to the inside, and I like how he places it. And I like that they're nice and they're frozen there. So that was cool. Now, are they walking on tempo? That's now that they could have walked on tempo for. So I'm gonna that would be a note that I would give them. I'm hopeful that maybe they chose to do it in that way, because then it'll feel more like we're unified in our choice. Da da da. So that was nice. And they go hard carry head. So I like the fact that those two that were in this grouping chose to like scoot over to make it integrate back into the group. That looks great. So it goes da da. So this part I think is the only part where you kind of stumble a little bit. That little da da da, you could tell he's live, but that's the only part I caught. Everything else was very stable. I like the kick around from everybody. Let's see. Yeah, the little pickup on heel taps is nice. That right. I like the little charisma check. It's cool. We go hit and boom, boom. I think we ended up going knee and out, didn't we? Let's see. Knees went and out. I like the hand pressing by the head. I like that he did more conversation on the chest. Then he pushes up. And they go gun, gun. And then we do the hands. And he joins in. And he goes, oh! Now, some of them chose to go here. And then when you hear that, oh, it feels very animalistic. So I actually understand that choice over the shout. But both work. Hard carry, hey, and then the same little breakdown. Range could improve just a smidge here. Rotation through, let it flow now. Going more in legato intention there makes sense because flow, water, yeah, legato is more smooth, like water, cool. We cross over there, and then we do like a subtle little jab or something similar to that over there. Yeah, so we love the hit, and I like how we use that to accent over with the kick to get us to a new spot, and then we hit on the other side, which is nice, and we go dig, dig, haha, and it goes hard carry, hey. And we go arm, arm, which is nice. And we take the hand, rotate it over, and I like the pull on the chest. There's little things like that I'm a happy camper with. So, and I like the little head on this. Honestly, there's some things that I really like about this that I wish was in the original with GOT7. And I think that's a really good compliment. Like, it's the best kind of compliment I can give to just how they're moving as a group. Like, it's a group compliment. Like, I really, really like the fact, like, I like it so much. I wish that GOT7 would adopt that into their own choreo. It is tricky to do, though. So, but hey, shout out to that. Love it. We recognize it. We see it. We listen. We don't judge. Well, we're analyzing. I'm not really like, I'm not judging. I'm more so analyzing and giving commentary and feedback is mostly my role here. But anyway, so it goes let it flow. So it does look like we're scooping on the hand on that. And I like this little extra just opposition of the head with the hips on that, which is cool. And then it go percussion, percussion, letting the knees help with that. The kick with the head. So same thing we've already kind of seen. Hard carry, hey. And we go out to the front. Hard carry, hey, subtle nods. Take it to the bridge. Okay, and we take our hands up. We're slow, good spacing. I like how we have two of our groups of our lines. They went outside, inside, and then our back row went inside, outside. So that was kind of dope. And I like it has this moment. He's pretty stable even here, which is cool. Ah, well, hold on. I literally just said that. Hold on. That was a little bit off pitch right there. But then he caught it. So there's like really minimal things. So I'm hopeful that those things get cleaned up before the actual live. Sometimes you have to experience it on stage to go, I need to make sure I fix that. It's life. It happened. So I'm hopeful for that, just like I felt that way with rhythm. So they go over with the knee accents, which was cool, from one side to the other. Some are looking down. Some are with the head looking up. So that would be something I would be curious or ask them to clarify on the sides. Because having his head up, is he my next feature? But he's looking down, so it actually allows me to appreciate the feature a little bit more. Little things like that. So he goes through, so he slid in. So that didn't feel as distracting as some other transition elements I have seen from, I think it was with the rhythm bench, where that one guy was moving and everybody else was still. At least there was movement coming from everybody, even though I believe he traveled the most. But because no one else was like, everybody was moving. It wasn't, everyone was still except for him. That makes it stick out even more. Do you see what I mean? Like, everyone's moving, so it works. So we melt in, and I let it go high, low. And he's sitting down and spitting bars. You know what I mean? Not spitting bars, but like being vocal. So I like the lift up there. Da 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 da. I like a little twinkling there. It's fun. He has good performance quality too, which is cool. Chalk it up to me really rooting for him from the replay set, and I really want him to be recognized, not just from the director's side, but from the SBS narrative side. Like, for me, I really want everybody to do that. It's just, yeah, it's very interesting, his stability of vocals for the lack of screen time he's getting, to respect the competency there, and to some certain degree. Like, he's very well on the execution side. I'm surprised he didn't go to groove, but it just depends on who scouted him. I don't know. Anyway, and he goes hit like the 1, 2, 3, and then a little head on that. Oh, come on, high note. Let's go. That hard carry hit, I can see him being considered a most valuable performer as well. He did good. Hit that boom, and we go punch, punch. Now, this is the note I'm going to give to the same guy I literally just complimented. This is the part I was talking about in the very beginning. He is a little bit more upright. You could tell because of his legs. He is still hitting everything, but he's not engaging to the same degree with torso and lower body like everybody else, so he does stick out. So that would be my note that I would give him, right? Okay, so, right. Do you see what I mean? And it's not a height thing. It is you can tell because of how full his legs are. But he's doing a pretty good job at least accenting the dynamics to a certain degree, which is really cool. And I like the subtle direction change going on in the diagonals there with our 3 groupings. So yeah, so we have our solo facing front, and then we have our 3 and our 3. Cool. But, that's another note I'm going to give him, I guess. Let's see, because his mirror is actually facing in the corner in these choices, and he is not, right? Lies. I just lied to you. They're all, okay, that was a me thing, so sorry. So that's why it didn't stick. He stuck out more in the height thing, not in a direction thing. His mirror's doing the same thing as him, which actually ties the feature in pretty well, and then you have your back row going corners. So I actually like it's more complex because it showcases depth of the formation. That's really cool. Love it. Very nice. So I like the little swim on the arms, and we go head, and then we rotate it over. Range could be a smidgen better, but I like the timing. Timing's pretty in check. Remember, timing and range are different when you're talking about synchronicity. I've mentioned that before. So when I say range and time, they are under the same umbrella term of being clean, being in sync, being uniform, right? So you go to the inside, I like he goes high to over, and then you have the switch up going on between our 2 guys. Hard carry, hey, more conversational, hard carry, hey, and then we pop off. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you know what? As a side note, they do operate. It's as a GOT7 track for 7 members. How they are meshing in the formations, I think that works in their advantage to a certain extent because it's a group of 7 on a group of 7 track. So that's just an easier just transition over than a soloist or a group of 5 or a group of 24 going into. Like, that's not a logistic they had to worry about as aggressively here because it was a group of 7 that they're covering as a group of 7. So that's cool. We can't negate those little details. That can be really helpful in these cases. Hard carry, hey, a little overhead right there, like the rotation on the arms there, and the extra fullness with the swing, and then they do a double little punch on that too, which is really cool. The kids is cool to go haha. The kick is nice, and they go haha. And then we go head, hard carry, hey, and then we punch out of it. I like the outside to inside, but then you have your 2 facing, 2 staying up with your feature. Now I'm going to give a note here. Notice that the spacing on this is pretty clean. It's very readable, but then on this side, let's say my guy right here, I think it's the same guy, right? I think it's funny. He just needs to scoot over a smidge on this choice. Or he over-rotated because it looks like his body's all the way sent over here when his counterpart right here is more diagonal. So that would be my note. I think he overshot it just a smidge. Or it could just be the vantage point. If he scooted out a little bit, that could help too. And it actually would help make his spacing look better. Because right now it looks like he's not really off, but it just feels off balance because of that. Member. But that's so subtle in the grand scheme of things. But remember, we're just giving feedback. It's very interesting things to note, right? But they dropped all the way low. Cool. And it goes hard carry, hey, we go and we chunk it. So those 3 sent it up. My other guys, they do a nice little hip twist on that, which is fine. And they go hard carry, hey. It does look like we're starting to lose a smidgen of our energy because we're isolating it to the arm versus the back and letting it actually like hard carry, hey. Like, we're not going hard on that part for an outro, but we're picking our battles on that. That's life, it happens. And then we do a nice little do the 40s with our arms around, which is cool. Little Cabbage Patch influence. And then we have the head, the side LT, like the absence of movement there. And then we go click, click, boom, boom, with the arms up. Nice little hat on there too. And then we rotate the arms around. 2 level drop. They look to the side. And then haha, matching the sound, which is nice. Hard carry, hey. And they finish. That was pretty well done. I can see that as a potential front runner if every group is performing in the rehearsals. They perform it that way on stage, possibly. I don't know, but I am intrigued on the last group with groove. Number 3, B2B, 두 번째 고백, second confession. Here we go. When I see the word confession on a track, I always think of Usher's first. These are my confessions. So I'm actually curious about this. I don't know if I've heard this. That's cute. I don't know if I can do it. That was cute. Are these guests for Melody? Yeah. But then it went nowhere. Chug it, boy. Go. That's awesome. Chug it! Yeah! Parkour! Cute. Wow. Parkour. Hey, parkour! So strong vocally. Oh, come on now! That was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that. So I am curious if your Melody, is that a fan song? I don't know if it is or not, but yeah, it's giving that because they were literally giving confessions to people. We love it. Okay, here we go. Giving a cute, gregarious vibe. I'm excited for it. It is technically a risk when you do a competition show. Sometimes they don't pull as aggressively, but also they also pull like that more ballad approach, which I personally really, really enjoyed. So I'm very curious about how this is about to be formatted. Let's go. That was a fun reveal. I was literally wondering, did something happen to one of our members? Because of how hidden he was. I like the little bear vibe there. That was cute. Okay. Nice. Nice. Wow. What's so interesting is what I'm hearing when we're watching them. That was well done, guys. Is I know that Chongsub works with his groups outside of the filming of Universe-League, and you get to see that here in both the first string and here in the bench. On the stability side, like, if this is of any testament on whether or not B2B, because they're a company now, if they will ever debut a group, you will know that they are going to be stable AF on the vocal side. There's no way they're not going to go that route, which just is a huge testament to Chongsub's character. Like, I really, when I say out of everybody, at least on how SBS chose the narrative route that they went with, I really loved the fact that Chongsub was a teacher. He wasn't just telling them what to fix, which was cool. We love that skill set. Do not get me wrong. We celebrate it. But as somebody who is also a teacher and an educator for people around this age, I have a natural, like, I pick up on whenever I see others do it, and I really appreciate it. Because it is harder to find educators or people who like take a holistic approach to troubleshoot with people, because it requires you to have to showcase a certain degree of I don't know everything and we have to figure this out, and also be and subject yourself to the griminess of the perseverance that's going to come with it. It's not an overnight thing to fix when it comes to vocal stability for stuff like this. For movement quality, for me, it depends on how long I work with a dancer and their mentality too. So like, I understand and I empathize with Chongsub on I understand to a certain degree on like when I work with people who have varying skill sets and varying experiences, what can I do to make sure everybody's on the same page for the type of role that they're playing in the show? Do you know what I mean? So I'm very impressed with that, and I hope that they're able to showcase stability on this too. And I wanted to make a note about this. SBS pushed another narrative, right? So they pushed the narrative that, which is, it's okay for us to call it that, because when I watched the when I watched the performance from the show, so I saw Groove and I saw that there was like a diction trouble situation, right? And he like messed up lyrics. As somebody who's not a native Korean speaker, nor I'm not fluent in the song enough to know whether or not the diction was off, if I was in the audience, would not have been able to tell you or notice if he was off like that. The reason why we naturally picked up on it was because the camera zoomed in and repeated it and made a sound to manipulate my perspective on really focusing and honing in on it, because it wasn't a full cam. That's just why that's why I do these, is I don't want to be influenced off of what SBS wants to show me. That's life. That's okay. I like being able to dive into both sides, but like as a side note for that. So that's why personally, my votes would not have changed between the full cams and the actual show for me, because what was a discrepancy with Groove was something I don't know if I would have picked up on realistically if I was looking at a full cam for the performance. I would have to look at other facets and other factors, right? So that's just a little side note, and it's okay. You know, just like you guys are absolutely allowed to feel how you feel about certain routines, I'm also allowed to feel that way, and I am in a position as a commentator that I am open and receptive to other people's feedback. That's why I do this, is I love growing and learning other perspectives that I wouldn't have had the privilege of learning if I wasn't in this position. But also, I want the respect to be two ways, right? So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about this from the top. The fact is, we're going from scratch on this in terms of there's no movement to the choreo. Like, there's no choreo for it. It's all vocal. So I like the fact that we went with the actual like mic on this. I don't know if the reason why he opted for them to do that is because he didn't want to force them to be challenged in multiple facets outside of just the handheld mic, but they did pretty decent for the most part. I do think we could always be cleaner, range could always be more refined, things like that, but I was very intrigued on the stability vocally for this with the group, and they did pretty good. I like the reach over. I like how he has it. Nice little salute, da 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 da, with the shoulder shrugs on that, bringing it over. I like the intention of the head on that. They drop low, and then the reveal. That was actually, he hid it so well, because in the beginning, like I said, I was like, did something happen? Why do we only have 6 people? And then he said, "Here I am." Really fun surprise, and he hid it away and he tucked away. I think that's kind of cute. Little head nod. Some of us are using more of a full body versus subtlety of the head, so that would be something I would say. Hey, I as a cleaner would clarify, think very subtle, try not to let other parts of your body be influenced off of it, but who knows what happens when we do the live performance, right? So they all branch off, so I like the little poses out of that, which is really nice. They branch to the inside. I like the little rock back. Some of our range could be a little bit better on the angles that we noticed from that stage right side, but spacing's pretty decent so far. I love that little hee-hee. So we're going, it's not a typical route, but it does feel like a very predictable, cute route, right? Like that very youthful vibe. I like it. I don't mind it on how it was reworked. It feels complementary to the original, but it feels like it matches the age demographic. It's not the same as a Second Confession with B2B to Melody, right? But it's something that this is risky for a couple of reasons, just like the ballad route that Groove String 1 for string opted for as well. A lot of people, especially individuals who are very general public, I experienced this in the studio scene, which is why I think it's a safe assumption I'm operating from, so forgive me if I am out of pocket for it. I'm not saying that everybody feels this way, but there is a consensus a lot of times with the general public or individuals who are not fluent in street dance or fluent in dance itself in various facets of various styles that you do see in the commercial sense or in the industry. There's certain concepts that you assume are easier because it's easier to digest the information, and we don't factor in the amount of time it takes to refine that movement quality, just like it does for the full energy ones. So having tension and muscle, it's like more of a hidden tension and hidden physical demand, because it just it's repackaged in a different way, right? So just like there's difficulty in Taemin's move, it can be simple for some people and complex for others. It's just how it's packaged, right? So in this case here, when we think cute, we think youthful, we don't think fatiguing, right? It doesn't feel like hard carry. Hard carry is like, oh, Lord, help us. It's exhausting, like Siren. Woo, goodness gracious, I need a nap after this, right? But also with the Grief of First String, they had a very chill, syncopated, more isolated and itemized, tense kind of choreo. It is still tricky to do if your body is not familiar with it. So I wanted to make my sentiments known there. There is difficulty to this if you have not done a youthful concept before a day in your life, right? And so they did it pretty good on committing to that. Regardless if they feel like this is the concept that matches them, that feels convincing, right? And you want believability of concept, right? So I like the little shoulders, syncopated is nice, the brush through. I like the conversational element that tied into the feature on that moment. The 2 columns are great. Then we take our energy up and we throw. And I like from there going from columns just to spacing it out. It's really nice. It's simple, but very effective. So he hits it over and then we throw. And then I like the heel toe on that, which is cool. I will say this, though. When it comes to polyrhythms, I've mentioned this a couple of times, but not really isolated like this. A polyrhythm is 2 or more rhythms that happen at the same time that are different. So it's like multitasking. So in this case here, it is more digestible. The polyrhythms are more simple. Simple doesn't mean easy. Don't get me wrong there, but they may be simple in comparison because it is a comparison game. We have to remember that too, for this type of schema of show. That's okay. We just have to accept that. Where if I have a routine where there's more, they have the same degree of cleanliness, then what else do we use to measure? We look at, okay, what kind of polyrhythms do you have in play? How simple or complex are your polyrhythms? And in this case, they are a bit on the simpler side, which can help on the stability of vocals and help with your balance, but it can be a risk of maybe you not scoring as high as somebody else with a higher performance complexity demand of their routine. So that's why you have a category a lot of times of complexity of technique, because if I'm not going to reward a group if it's neck and neck and one group has more complexity than the other, you have to have something to measure off of that as like your tiebreaker vibe, right? So that's I digress on that, but yeah, so I like the choices, but could that have potentially worked against them in scoring? Could that have worked in their favor on their audience? That's all subjective at the end of the day. It's subjective art. It's a subjective industry with a subjective schema of zero criteria. It's off of how people feel in the moment, and they can pick somebody because they're cute, pick somebody because they didn't make a mistake or they were their preference of tone. It can be anything under the sun, right? Or they already know going in, hey, I want to vote for somebody who's wearing this outfit. Some people are like that. It happens, right? So, but I digress. Moving on. I like the march. There's a step back, and I like the double up. It's fun. It's cute, and they go and reset. I like this little accent point. It's fun. The little sarang hey. So we have a big heart, a little heart. We have a connection, and then we have this little hello. We drop down low. I like this little rock forward, fun add-on. And they go da 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 da. So I like the fact we didn't go simple, whole count. We get 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that was nice. I like that little interruption, adding more of a timing difference there. It helps enhance your complexity, which is what you want to have. And they go and they present the hands up. He turns out of it. So that was good. All of our features are doing a great job. I'm really, really proud of their stability on this. I really hope we get to reflect that. I really am one to advocate for that. Goodness, I'm hopeful for them all to be competitive. And they go to the side, and then we have our moment on the side, right? Hold on. So we go. I like the little assist there on that stage right side, but notice that our spacing is a little bit more condensed right here on that stage right side, and a little bit more full out, or not full out, spread out over on the stage left. But one of my guys is a little bit closer to my guy right here, you know, so that could be just a little bit better is the spacing on that. But maybe that gets refined, which is why you do a rehearsal on stage. It helps you be able to calibrate going into the performance. And they step, it did look like they were doing a little box step, but we're going to verify that. Yeah, kind of. I don't know if we officially crossed over, so it's hard to verify. That's life. So we take a little fist there, so it goes double up, and I think, what did everybody else do? The feature complemented what they did. Oh, it's like they're writing something. That was cute. Maybe it's a wordplay thing. Possibly they go out in. I like that little, I like the bear vibe. Side note, as much as I love the heart, I'm killer for the cat ears. That's so freaking cute. And I like the teddy bear ears too. Like, come on. Profile picture. We love it. Anyway, so that was a fun moment there. So they all run away. I mean, it's a situation you guys know I would probably say. What's a predictable thing that's about to come out of my mouth? I prefer the subway basket run, but also in my personal preference hierarchy, I really do love that your transitions, even when you frolic away, to be intentional with timing. I think that's just, I don't want to ignore the music there, and I don't want to just get out of the way. I want to appreciate my feature, but I also want to appreciate you going in and out of frame too. Like, I want to appreciate everybody. And so when everybody has a tempo check and they are walking and being very mindful of how I'm getting on and off stage outside of just running away quickly, it allows me the privilege of respecting the fact that they're still in my camera frame. Does that make sense? So maybe that's probably where, like, I'm sinking in and really doubling down on that perspective. But you don't inherently have to have it, but it doesn't hurt to have it. I think is kind of my preface that I'm coming from. But anyway, so I like this moment. I like the little hips on that, which is fun. It does a little knock on the wrist, which showcases the clock. I like the wave on that with the arms is fun. It goes point and point, which is cool. They go little Peppa Seed, didn't they? Come on now. And they press back and they double it up. So I like that they did that. It did look like they changed windows, didn't it? Let's see. They did. So what did I mean by changing windows? If you look at the formation, it's technically 2 lines. And then you have my front, my back line. My back line is in between the spaces of my front line. We call that being in a window because they are like your frame. Ta-da! Ding, ding, ding. He's in the window. So whenever you transition or change your window, that means that whoever is going from back to front or front to back, now he is going to be that window with whoever, right? And then they are going to be in the space in between. So now you know. You learned something new if you didn't know that. And if you knew that, hope it was a good review for you. But I think my feature, did he change his window? Let's look. So if he has this moment, he did. So I went forward and then he went back. And then I like the little branch up. I like that some of them chose to look at the hand there. That was really nice that everybody looked. Yes! One of them didn't. Oh, now this would have been a really cool moment where you have subtlety a feature because he's doing the same move, but if he's looking front and everybody else is looking up, which that would be my note to him, that would have been a really good way to still clock him. Okay, I'm supposed to keep watching him, but I like the fact that everybody's on the same page. And notice, doesn't this hold look familiar? If you remember Hardcarry, that was a note that I gave. We have one person out of everybody. Look at the range, guys. That's crisp. We like that. I mean, his could be just a little bit higher, but hey, for rehearsal, this is great. And then as he steps down, that looks great too. Cool, we're here for it. No, that's not, gosh, no, I didn't even say my note. He needs to lift it. That's not great. It could be better. Lifting up the leg to keep it in line with everybody else. I think that would be great to see. That's what I meant. So sorry. So they cross over, they bring it down. It goes out in, boom, and then they go out, ball change. I like that choice, which is really cool. I like the step, in the snap, and the step, in the snap, and then the sengake. I like that. You're thinking about it. So they do little step touches, right? And they use the step touches on the same timing together. They're just going a different direction in their transition. That's the kind of stuff that really makes me feel, okay, we're all on the same page in our choice. We love that, right? I like they have this energy. They keep this as a fixed point. They go and they travel this arm up and around. I like the connection on this. And then from there, they frame it across the face. Really nice. And they do a nice little heel as they tap it down. And they bring that arm down. Really nice. And they go knock, knock. He expands that arm out. I like the pickup of the arm. Do-do-do-do. I like the rotation to hit that base. And then they use the leg to help complement that. We go and we bring our arms over. And he does a little vibrato. I thought he was about to crack, but he didn't. He pulled a vibrato instead. Interesting. My goal would be maybe match pitch. I don't even know if that's the right pitch. I don't know. Hold on. Mommy. Like, I'm expecting that. Hold on. Mommy. I'm expecting that, but what does he do? That part, mummet, like that, mummet, right? So I wonder if Changsub, I hope he's there, and I hope he, like, notes that, because I liked the vibrato. It's cool, and it's a nice little surprise. I'm not used to hearing vibrato. I'm used to hearing a held note, so that was cool. I mean, vibrato for BTP, but not for this, right? Cool. So I'm wondering, like, in the rehearsals, if our directors are there, if he makes that correction, or I'm hopeful that we're able to be consistent in the choice or something along those lines. Or if that was right, that it's just as clear, I think's my note. So rotating through, I like the little ball change out of that. Rotating, I like the little tap tap right there over the chest is nice. Hit over, hit, little switch over is also nice to see. I think our range could be a smidgen better. You can tell by some of them, they're really pulling from the elbows. Some are going more back to make it a moment, and the angles could be a smidgen better too. I'd say my guy right here, his body's a little bit more towards that right side for them versus in front. So that would be just a little note. Subtle. It's super subtle though. Nothing crazy. Drop it down. I like they go from one side to the other. It does feel like a modified or inspired Mary J. Blige. It's really cool to see. They take it over. I like the trace on this, and they take the leg to complement it, which is fun. And they bring it over rotation the first time. I do think the rotation, I'm not quite sure the clarity on it. Yeah, so the range on quite a few of them could have been a little bit more refined there. All that looks pretty decent, honestly. I would say, of course, little baby range discrepancies. We've already kind of touched on it, so I don't want to like feel like I'm beating a dead horse on it, but it is, you know, as we see it, if you do have simpler choreo, not saying like easiest, but if you have simpler choreo, it's a bigger risk to not be clean, I think is kind of a note that I would kind of just advise on this. Hopefully going into the live performance that we're able to have some of these moments a little bit more refined with some energy to back that up as well. So bringing it through, I like the press up is fine. Yeah, this does feel a little bit, you know, like we're coasting through the course, but I think we really are prioritizing stability in vocals, which I totally understand. But that could just be another thing in balance when it comes to engagement with your audience too. So that's just a note there. They drop down high, and I like they branch the arms over, and then a little speed change on that. We have another little dancer moment. They pushes around, so that's nice. My guy right here in the far end didn't quite go full rotation like everybody else did, so he felt like a subtle outlier when I don't believe he was supposed to. So that would be just a subtle note that I would give there, hopefully to refine, because if you notice too how he was punching on those, his rocks were a little bit different, and so it made the timing feel different too. I like his press up nice. I like the turn on that. I like the complementary environment that they were providing for that. Really fun. The little tap with a nice little brush on the hand is fun. Double it out. So I like how they use that move to transition. Normally you see that move when everyone does it the same way, but I don't think they all did it the same way, did they? Because we had an opposing individual, right? Right. Which is fine. I think they held it down pretty well. Decent spacing. They went from a low to a high level. They switch and switch, which is cool. And he goes, mwah! I love the little mwah, little kiss there. Looking here. I'm noticing my guy in the far back could scoot over just a little bit so we can see him, and we're able to have our it's just a little bit more even. But if you look though, you see like a punch right here, then my guy could scoot out just a smidge right here if he's supposed to be, like, I don't know who's supposed to be. That's very interesting, actually. I'm trying to process what I'm actually watching. Okay. I don't know if the formation's supposed to be the guy in the far back supposed to be over, so where it's that kind of V, or if my guy right here is supposed to be here, and then my guy in the back is supposed to be in the middle. So that, I guess, will be a note that I would give. One guy's too far in and my center's too far in, or my guy is too far out and my center's too far. Like, I don't know that. So all that to say that the spacing could be better for that part, because I was just sitting there trying to troubleshoot. I like this feature moment. It's fun. And it goes up, and then we press it around. I like the swim with the arms. They go nice little pop, little hop on that, and then we have this little moment over to the side, which is cool. And then push it over. Spacing could be a little bit better. I don't know why he's deviated a little bit this way, so that'd be my note there. But it could be, I mean, if you look, the spacing's, spacing is pretty decent between the three, which is why I'm assuming he went too far out, because if he was in between these two, then it would look like these two were too close together. Do you see what I mean? So I'm trying to use context of spacing for my feature to kind of determine which spacing looks a little bit more on the off out of assumption, right? Okay, so they're all on the side. Could they be doing something technically while this is happening? Maybe, because it looks like they're directing their energy to them on the side. I don't know. That's life. It's fine. Nothing crazy there. So they walk forward, so they're down. Da 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 da. I like the chants on that, which is fun. I like the circle, and the circle. I think it was supposed to be a tiered level, so that would be a note there. He has this little moment. I like the march. It could be a little bit more energetic, but it could just be okay for rehearsal, modify it a little bit, not go super full out. I'm intrigued and I'm hopeful that they go more full for the live. Brushing through, they go down. It does feel like we were going for a double lock. I don't know if that's what we were really going for, but it gave that setup similar to that. It's a little toe tap on that, and you have the 2 arm swings on that, which is fine. And then it's like, we're eating. Come on now. We're eating good vibes and good times, right? So I like the little bounces on that, which was cute. Swims are cool. Then we go have a nice little opposition going on with the chest on this. We present the arms forward, bring them back, which is nice. Nice little moment. We rotate. It kind of looks like a little flower almost, and I like how we twist it through. Feels like a clock even too, because when I see this, sometimes it reminds me of the minute hand, hour hand. So it could be that. I don't know. And he has a little knock, which is fun. It goes out, and he presses it out. Like the inversion of that knee looks good. That kickball change is also nice. Yeah, that's cool. So in the 2 columns is great. The pulls, the opposition on the pull side is really fun. And he has a little moment. Little shamrock is fun. I think it was we just did a single shamrock. I wish it was once again, a little bit more full, and I think full enough for where it's really clear and readable. I think that's at least what I would want in a rehearsal even too. Some moments do feel marked, but it could be a chock of multiple logistics. It could be, it's a skill set of, if we are in fact, this is how we're performing live, it could very well be we are focusing so hard on vocals, we had to sacrifice performance fullness. I get that. It happens. Just like sometimes people sacrifice vocals for the opposite, right? Both can happen. So both are a growing opportunity in the skill set. So I like that Singaken. I like that we push forward, which is fine all day. And then I like he's doing the same thing, but it's just more isolated with just one person versus everybody. Everyone's nice and low hinged over. Some chose to like squat down, not squat, but like with both their legs spread out. Yeah, I'm the guy right here. I think this is kind of funny. He does remind me of possibly getting ready to play football, which is Universe-League, which I kind of find to be fun. But I like the mirroring effect that we're seeing here. I can't quite verify what his mirror's doing because he is hidden away. I don't know if our vantage point, if we're supposed to have them tucked away like that, or having in the spaces in between the feature and those outside individuals. I don't know that. Maybe we'll see that soon. So I like the punches are fun. They branch away and they go, ah! And I like the varying levels with the 2 peekaboo around him. Nice and low with those a little bit higher. The little pulse. And I like how they get pushed away and they reset on the crisp sound. Ding! On the snap is fun. Then we won to a new spot. Oh, Lord. Run. Not even run. What was I saying? Why was I choosing that word? We transition to a new spot, and it wasn't just one person, it was at least multiple, so at least it was the previous feature and new feature moved, so that's why it kind of worked. I saw that quite a couple times in a 17 more chill, gregarious kind of tracks. I noticed that sometimes, so it doesn't really quite bother me. It's a very typical go-to format you can do, going from passing the torch from one feature to another. Timing, hold on, not timing. Spacing's pretty good here. That boom, I like the knock over there. Same thing before, which is nice. Little tap is fun. Unison, I would say my feature, he did heavily modify that. Not heavily, sorry. He heavily restricted it, I think is more of my note that I would give there, which kind of reiterates my note. I really think we're focusing so much on vocals, which is totally fine, but that can be a risk in an audience subjective space. What are they going to pick? Are they going to pick vocals, or are they going to pick the performance with stability, if there's stability there? Like, I can't tell you. I like the subtlety and the drop down's really nice, and then go to the other side and they plant it. I like the switch off there. The trace, same thing as before. Range could be a smidgen better over my guy on stage right. Stop pushing, then we have our moment. Cool. Over through, I like that little Ranajam through the little just point, and having that kind of branch away is fun. And then they go, I think they just, you know, toss it over to the side, which is fun. Bring it through. I like the directions on that. Here, arms go up and speed change, new phrase. I like his vibe. I really like his tone here. It's really nice. Yeah, it's subtle, it's soft, it's intimate with a vibrato. I really like that. Could he be a contender based on how he's presenting his vocal stability and his stage presence? His tone is phenomenal here. Being able to have the control of being really subtle and intimate like that to going really full is really nice, because I keep thinking about the mic, how you can control that, but he has this. So the fact that it still feels pretty controlled is really nice. So you have the arms out, they switch over to the side, they bring the arms forward, like the twinkling in. That was nice and full. Like, I really appreciated that. That was great. It brings it up, and I like the tra-tra-tra, it's nice. Or like just the interruption on it is really cool. And then they bring it through. I like the switch off on that. And they present, which is nice. We pull. I'd say, once again, torso, range, that kind of stuff can be more refined. And, you know, that's just a note that I feel like will always exist in the space. It's really hard to clean that. Always. Whether you have different skill sets, that is the trickiest thing. From somebody who works with different skill sets every freaking day, it is the hardest thing to clean. And then once you clean one facet, when you clean extremities, the first thing to go away is your groove. So that's like, I really empathize with that. And then they swing. I like the throw on that, it's cool. And they dig with the hip on that, bring the arms up. I like that moment, click, and they cross behind, and then we fold, and then we place that hand out, which is nice, that DDD. I would say some of our choices, I mean, the second one looks a lot cleaner than the first one. They bring it back in, high to low, and then they cross, they double it up on that second step. Then you have this opposition with the chest, having this arm out, subtle fixed point. Fixed point meaning it's fixed in a position in the space where it's not moving, but everything else is. You go from chest and you lower it down to the hip or to the knee. Then we go and we do a nice little Superman, or just scoot it back, which is nice on the jump. And then we go down, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And then we have a nice little Porta Raw finish with a reveal with subtle levels. Really nice, honestly. So which group out of the rehearsal full cams would I have selected? I personally really like Hardcarry, so Team Beat. Yes, is there a couple individuals in that group that were a part of my initial draft selections? Could that be a subconscious reason? I'm not going to negate that. I'm human. Even if I think I don't have it, you never know. But just from whatever I gleaned from all three groups, I am excited for the episode. I am hopeful that everybody showcases improvement from these rehearsal shots going into the show. I am hopeful that there's not weird narratives that we're trying to push, or we're trying to push a situation that is not setting members up for success. But it's just, I want to be able to enjoy the performances, and really I want it to be competitive. You know, that's what makes it a fun show. And I want there to be more screen time opportunity for a lot of individuals who have fantastic movement quality and fantastic vocals on the bench side, because like I said, a lot of these individuals we haven't had the privilege of really getting to know as much as some of the first strings. So I am hopeful that this episode will really help kind of alleviate some of that. I'm very intrigued about your commentary and discussions in the comments. Please keep in mind, I'll put the disclaimer in the comments and pinned at the top. Please read that before commenting. I also recommend too, if you made it to the end, thank you. I always recommend that people watch the full analysis, because hopefully, maybe if you've been with me a while, you may have been picking up. I do refine some of my feedback, or I do clarify some things in my head as I process through multiple routines, because some groups that do one ism, another group fixes, but they have a different thing they work on. So I think that's really cool. It's a full package analysis. It's not just a reaction, overview, move on. So that's what makes this really fun. You guys know me, I know you. I'm Jess, and I will catch you on the flip side. Bye.